Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Don't Wait Till Monday podcast. I'm your host, Kirsten, and today we have our very first guest. This is Ellie.
Hey, everyone.
Hi, Mom.
I feel very honored to be here. First guest on the podcast.
Yes, and so, we're going to just go with the flow and talk about kind of what life we've gone through together in the past few years, some storytelling, and then basically reflect on everything to how we got to where we are today.
Yeah, we've been through some things together, so.
Yeah. And so the title of this podcast is how we went from Pogues to professionals. And so obviously Pogues is from the Outer Banks, and so we will get to that. But first, let's just start with how we met. So,
well,
you want to talk about it, or you got it?
I mean, we both went to NC State, and we were in the same major, rep Parks and Rec.
Parks and Rec, yes.
Every time I tell someone that's my major, they're like, "Oh, have you seen the TV show?" Or they say, "Oh, so are you going to be a park ranger?" And I'm like, I don't know if I would go to college for 4 years just to be a park ranger, but I mean, great question, I guess.
People love it. It's like, I mean, this is a little off topic, but anyways, people in our major, a lot of them, like, their dream jobs is park rangers, which is great.
Yeah. But I mean, there's a need for them. So if you want to be a park ranger, definitely go for it.
Yeah. But so we were Parks and Rec students at NC State, and we had, I don't remember our first class together.
We had so many classes together.
Yeah. One of the Parks and Rec classes that was like more of event planning. Yeah. I think that was like the first one that kind of, I think, brought us really close together, because the class was split up into groups, and we were in a group together at JC Community Center in Raleigh. Go Raleigh.
And we went through some struggles together trying to get through that class.
Dude, so we had to like plan an event, and it was COVID, so it was all virtual.
Yeah.
So that was
we had some bonding moments through our struggles.
We sure did. And so we had that class together. We were partners, and during that time it was our spring semester of our junior year. Or was it fall? It was spring.
Something like that. It was before our internship.
Yeah, so it was right before, because it was spring semester of our junior year. And so for PRT students, which stands for Parks, Recreation, Tourism, for PRT students at NC State, you had to get an internship to have like credits, like your internship work, college credits. You had to get an internship. So, I started applying for different ones, and I find this one in the Outer Banks at the Curry Tuck Club, and so I applied for it, and then we went to class, and we were actually at JC, and like our other classmates were talking about like their internships and stuff, and I was like, Ellie, I just applied to this one, like I think, and then you were like, oh, like, that sounds fun, like send it to me.
Well, I definitely wanted to go to the beach. I knew I just wanted to be somewhere on the water, so I was looking for internships where I could just be in the ocean.
Yeah,
basically. So when I saw that was in the Outer Banks, hence being Pogues, not just because we were in the Outer Banks, but because we actually worked our asses off.
And we will get that actually chaos, but obviously we both applied and we both got it, and we were like,
I remember I was so stressed, and I had no reason to be stressed about getting that.
No, literally, I was like, if you've listened to my episodes, you know how it's been to job find. It was like kind of the same for internships, because I was like, we had like maybe, I think we ended up getting it completely in like March. So we had literally like a month and a half, not even to spare, until we had, like the summertime was coming, and, internships and all that stuff. But yeah, so we both got it. And then I remember too, I'm driving there. Ellie got there before me, and I remember you were like, it was, so basically, to give you a visual, we got a beach house at the internship that we did. So we were recreation interns in the Outer Banks in Corolla. And
I bet a lot of you are wondering, though, what a recreation intern even is. And we have the same question, because what do interns at the beach do for a gated community? It's like, what kind of job even is this? So we were going into this hoping to learn a lot of good stuff and actually be provided with a lot of value in the internship, hence the whole purpose of it, and maybe have some good job opportunities come out of it. And we really thought we'd be well connected and we'd learn all kinds of things. And notice I keep saying we did think, we thought, or
yeah, I know.
we were expecting, and we were let down.
Yeah, there were all these interns. There was like 8 or 10 of us. There were interns in the house, and they our internship had a house specifically for the interns. So you could call it like Jersey Shore at the Outer Banks.
Literally, honestly. That's what it was.
And so anyways, I remember I'm texting Ellie. I'm like, oh my God, like nervous. And because you could see like the director sent out an email to all of the interns, like, you know, to get us ready. And I could see where different people were from. And there was like Texas, Pennsylvania, like Virginia.
We definitely went to each other's Instagrams and were stalking each other.
Yeah.
And
like the other interns.
I don't remember if we talked to each other before getting there.
I don't think so.
I think I tried looking up a couple people before, but yeah, we just got there and we were like, well, I hope we aren't stuck with a bunch of weirdos.
I remember Ellie texted me and she was like something like, yeah, there's other like NC State guy here, whatever, blah, blah, blah.
So
something
three of the, what was it,
8?
10 or 8?
It started at 10. We lost 2.
Oh yeah, we did lose go.
We lost 2.
So 3 of us were from NC State, which was kind of cool.
Yeah, that was really cool.
So anyways, we get to the beach. We're there on our first day. And, you know, I had to go and lock down a room. I was trying to be the first one there. Yeah. And somehow a couple of people beat me there. Like, they got there the day before, and I was like, okay, so clearly they wanted to get the best bedrooms.
Right, yeah.
So they beat me to it, but I was like, here, don't worry, I'm going to go lock us down a bedroom, because I don't care. Like, I'm all for getting to know new people, but, like, sharing a room with them for the whole summer and not knowing what you're getting yourself into, yeah, I don't know if I'm all about that. And
yeah,
not to mention, me and Kirsten knew each other from the class, but we were like just newly friends. Like, we still didn't even know each other that well at the time. The
internship would really brought us.
Yeah,
close
it was.
Friends, yeah.
I mean, when you can hold hands from your bunk beds that you're sleeping in all summer, you kind of
literally. I
have a bond.
I was just about to say that. Is that our bedroom was literally like bunk beds were set up. And we could literally hold hands like from our bunk beds. So just to get you a little insight of the house, it was 4 girls and 4 guys.
Yes.
When it ended up being all 8, it was 4 girls and 4 guys. I think I was the only one in a relationship.
Yeah, I think you were.
So
we were all ready to wild.
Yeah, everyone's like, you know. And so let's start with the job.
Yeah.
So back is kind of like the first day. You know, like Ellie had said, we were recreation interns, so we thought event planning and things like that. And we sit down at day 1, and we're like, we get these handbooks, and they're telling us about these different things that we do. So one of the things,
I was gonna say, there's basically the framework was there was like 4 different jobs to do, and we all rotated those 4 different jobs each day. So each day you're on the schedule for something different, and there were definitely 2 that just absolutely sucked because they were it was so much physical labor. In the middle of the summertime, when it is peak heat and you're working, I mean, we ended up working 10-hour days most of the time because this is the summer after COVID. So there were so many people that were not working still, and they couldn't get anyone for the internship. They told us that they normally had like 20 people. 20, because 14 to 20 was normal. And
there were a lot of empty beds.
I'm glad there wasn't 4 people in our tiny room. I mean, it was probably a 10 by 10 foot room, so having 4 people in there would have been an absolute disaster.
Oh my gosh, that bathroom was already enough.
I mean, we really had to talk to each other about taking a shit. We were like, hey, we gotta work something out here. There's a lot of people using one bathroom.
Yeah.
But there were 4 jobs, and 2 of them just absolutely sucked because there was not nearly as many of us as there should have been, and it was hot, and no one wanted to work, and it was just the summer after COVID. It was so weird because everyone was just out of it. It was just a weird time.
And so the job, one of them was we would sit at this, so where we were stationed, the trolley for our residents at our country club would get dropped off, and then you had to walk over like a giant sandhill to get to the beach. And so we had these like buggies.
These
carts. I don't even know what you would call
carts
them.
With wheels that are good for the sand.
Yeah, and we would sit there, and as soon as the trolley pulled up, we'd be like, hey, like, do you want us to take your stuff down?
And everybody always said yes.
And they always said yes. Right. And we got hella tips from it. Like, that picture just actually popped up on my like memories. And it was my wallet, and I mean, it was a wad of cash. Like, that was nice.
I mean,
But
I don't know why I didn't save some of that.
me
or something. I'm
either.
kinda
I was like,
I did kind of make bank that summer. I don't really know where all that money went, but
right back into the Outer Banks. But that was one of the jobs, was literally carrying people's shit from the entryway over that hill into wherever they wanted to go.
I'm pretty sure when I used my Apple Watch, it was like 3/10 of a mile or something like that. But that was just to get from where the trolley dropped off the people to the beach. And then, of course, when you're carrying somebody's stuff, they're going to say, okay, let's walk half a mile down the beach so we can make sure that there's not a soul in front of us so we have a clear view of the water.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we ended up walking like close to a mile one way for every person that came and were carrying their stuff. I mean, and not to mention these people that went to the Outer Banks, they didn't bring normal umbrellas. They brought full on those 4-legged tents that people use at tailgates and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That are 40 plus pounds. I mean, those things are heavy as shit.
Yeah.
And they would say, okay, let's throw that on there.
Yeah.
And then all their beach chairs. And then, you know, the kids are just like walking in front of you, about to trip you. And
literally,
I mean, it was just like ridiculous.
Fucking on fire in the sand. Like, I remember I got Crocs. And just because
which was a bad idea.
Like, the slides would just like slip, and flip flops just you can't walk in the sand in flip flops.
No,
trying to lug something over a hill. I got Crocs, but the sand would like fall in the holes, and it would still burn like hell. But also
definitely burned my feet for the first time ever that summer.
Yeah, there was the buggies, and there was the master cart, like that. Yeah, yeah. So there was this giant metal cart that, like, when families were getting out, you're filling that thing, and it's like all hands on deck.
So this metal cart is I don't know, like 6 feet wide and like 10 feet long, and it is ginormous.
Giant.
Like I mean, just pulling it by itself with nothing on it, I mean, it was really heavy.
Like you always had two people on it.
You always had two people pulling that thing, and we literally were pack mules. I mean, it was ridiculous.
Yeah, I just remember there was one day, so all the girls were on that shift, because we would also like make the schedule ourselves, and I was like, all the girls are doing this one day, like we're taking all the tips, like fuck the guys, whatever. And it was the 4 of us girls, and it started pouring. And so, God, that's another thing, the trolley, the door-to-shore trolley, which we'll get to in a second. But you had to, like, basically that big-ass trailer, you would fill with everything else, and then you would put that on another big-ass trolley.
So we were just hauling people's beach stuff
all summer
for miles and miles and miles for 10 hours a day.
Yeah.
And we also didn't get a lunch break. So
yeah, that one you could have just like chose.
If you didn't
you
like bring lunch with you, then you just better hope that you didn't pass out, because that definitely was on the table a few times.
Yeah, no, there were times where, like, I mean, we would leave the station empty, but it's also like, I'm not about to die over these people and this internship. Like, sorry. So I think that kind of like gives you enough to know about that service. The other one that was literally from fucking Satan's asshole himself, this was the worst thing in the world, was we would not only bring their stuff from like the station entry to the shore, but we would literally drive to their house, like whatever place they were staying at, and they would just have their shit in a pile, all their beach shit in a pile.
Right in the front yard.
On the front yard, just out. We would put it on the trolley and take it down to the shore for them. And
so we would have to stop at, first of all, we have to make sure that we get all the addresses, put them in the correct order, so we are stopping at them in an order that makes sense. And then we're picking up, I mean, people only use this service if they have a shit ton of people there for the week.
Right.
So this is like for 8
massive,
people, 10 people, 12 people. I mean, it was ridiculous. So we would go to the houses and pick up 8 or 10 beach chairs, and then all of the 2 bags of beach toys.
Yeah.
1 to 2 coolers. You know, I mean, the absolutely biggest
umbrellas.
coolers. Like, you would
Monster
absolutely
Yeti
look at that
coolers.
pile and think that they are moving to the beach and spending the night there for all 7 days. It was, I mean, it's just insane. When you're not the one moving it, they're like, yeah, let's throw everything in here. I mean, we probably have enough food to live out here for like 48 hours straight and not be hungry whatsoever. But I mean, we're still going to do it just because, we have little interns picking up our stuff. Like, why not?
Yeah.
So we go to like 7 or 8 houses every day, and pick up this stuff. And I mean, by the end of the day, you're just like chucking these chairs onto the trolley. I mean, it was
So speaking of this trolley, I'll have to insert a picture for the people that are watching it. But I mean, this shit was big as hell, and I don't even know that we were like honestly legal to drive that. I think we were because there weren't any passengers, but it was like also just open to where like you made a turn, like I made a few turns, and chairs went flying off, and Ellie.
So on the 4th of July this summer.
Was the 4th of July.
Happy 4th? Oh my on gosh. The 4th of July this summer, I was doing door to shore with Riley. Yes. And this was a super long driveway that went a huge hill leading up to it. So if we were going to go down to the house, we would have had to lug all this crap up to the end of the driveway. I mean, it was such a long driveway. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to make this easy on myself. Like, let me put it in reverse and go get the stuff down there.
I wish I was sick.
So, you know, I have Riley on the back, like making, I mean, like you can easily see because it's literally just an open air trolley, just like a flatbed truck almost with a cover over top of it. So, you know, I'm like looking behind me, backing up and going down this driveway, taking it nice and slow, making sure I don't run over any of the beautiful landscaping that all these people in the gated community would be really upset if it got like, you know, run over. So, you know, I'm taking my time, being careful, going down the driveway. The hill gets a little steep and I'm making my way down there. And as we're getting closer to the stuff, you know, honestly, I kind of blacked out in this moment because I don't remember what happened. But I just remember I hit somebody's car.
Well, what did you say right before that?
I don't know,
later or something.
We do need to rewind a little bit. As I was backing down the driveway and feeling myself, because I was killing it for like a good 30, 45 seconds, I was like, I'm Tail Mater, you know? Like he drives in reverse, like he's a really good reverse driver. Not 30 seconds later, you hear, you know, like I shattered the taillight of a car.
Into a traveler's car.
Here I am mortified. I was feeling myself, and then, you know, just because I said that, I'm sure, you know, fate had it out for me that I was going to hit this car. So I have to go up the like 15 steps to the front door, and every step I'm just like, oh my God, this is going to suck. Yeah. So, and then I'm like, I don't really care about this job, but like I do feel bad, but at the same time, they're working us to death. Like it was just all around just a bad situation. And so I knock on the door and the guy's like, oh, so did you pick up our stuff? And I was like, so actually, you know, and then he ends up coming out of the garage. Yeah. So he leaves the front door, comes out of the garage, and he's like, oh, so the stuff's still here. And then he immediately, like, I didn't even say anything. He immediately looks and sees that, like, there's the red broken up pieces of the taillight on the ground. Yeah. And I was like, I'm so sorry. And I was trying really hard not to laugh. I mean, like, it was like, because I was so that whole internship, like, awkward. Like,
we were delulu.
I mean, when you're working that hard, it's just like, you have mixed feelings between, like, just not giving a shit anymore because it's clear that no one gives a shit about you.
Well, especially with that service, like we were just overbooked. That just sums it up. Is like it was just overbooked, and like you would have to get to these houses in timing, and it didn't work, and there wasn't enough room. Even though the trolley was big as hell, like we said, parents and families were bringing their whole camper. So,
well, because the way that this door to shore service worked is we would go to all these houses and pick up all their crap from the front yard, and what the job was to bring all that stuff down to the beach and set up their stuff for them and get them a spot. So when they get down there, their stuff is set up. They know they have a spot and they can just come to the beach and everything's ready to go. So it didn't make sense for us to overbook this service because then by the time we were finished getting all the stuff from all the different houses, got it on the trolley, from the trolley onto the monster cart, and then from the monster cart all the way down to the beach, people were already out there, so we're having to go and spread out like 6 or 7 families that have, you know, so many people's stuff and find them a good spot on the beach. And they paid for this service, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. I mean, they paid for it, and we would obviously get tipped too. But the one thing that did suck was that there was also, you could do a private trolley, and sometimes what would happen is you would drop them off, and then the people that were stationed there, they would take everything, but then they would get your tips. So it was like, hold on, this isn't really working how it should. Another thing too is, like, we would take it down to the shore, but we didn't have to set them completely up too often. Like, if they were there, you always offered like your help, and they would most likely take it. But yeah, that was that. But yeah, so Ellie hit the car. That same house, though. Yeah, that guy. That same house, I had an issue. Not issue, but I had something happen there too.
Basically, I don't remember anything else, but I just remember saying Happy 4th, and we left it at that.
Yeah. And so that house, that was the Cherry Grove Street, right? That
honestly, I think it was.
I think it was like something like that. And so I was scheduled for this service by myself to do this whole service, which
ridiculous.
Is insane.
It's already difficult with just two people.
Yeah. And so I pull up to this Cherry Grove house. I think it was a different family. Like, I don't think it was them. Actually, it might have been. Anyways, the same house. So here I am lugging everything. I did not pull down that driveway, but I'm up at the top and I'm lugging everything up, and I get to the top, and one of their nice ass coolers, I was trying to get it up into the trolley, boom, falls and breaks on the ground. The ice spills out, the drinks spill out. I literally cried.
Everything in the cooler.
I was just standing there like crying because I was so frustrated because, one, I should have never been on that by myself.
No.
And two, like, it just obviously a lot was happening. And
it's just one of those moments where you know somebody's going to be upset with you and want to chew you out. And then they don't even understand that, first of all, you're already beating yourself up about it. And you're just in a horrible position because we were so sleep deprived and in the sun all day. And I mean, just so many problems that it just made it hard to even, like, we literally were delusional, like laughing like delusional people like at the end of every day.
Yeah, if you were in, like, it's like the trolleys, especially the second you're in them, like, it's a parallel universe. You turn the radio on, and do you remember that song? It was like, she called me Big Part, or he called me Big Part, something like that. That song would come on in the trolley, and we were like, what is the odds of the Outer Banks radio playing this? Like, so random. But anyways, it was just like literally a whole parallel universe, and that was those services. The other ones were like inside at the counter, like receptionist,
working,
and then the other one was a tiki bar at the pool.
Yeah,
which they were like whatever. But yeah, these other two
were great. They were easy jobs. They were fun, and that wasn't bad. But when you had to work the door to shore or
beach valet,
those were awful. And
we were also doing them, like, nothing against the high schoolers, but we were also doing them with high schoolers, which I was like, I'm
nothing against them. It's just the fact that we were supposed to be doing an internship, which is
like
enriching
for college credit,
leads to a lot of stuff.
I was like,
we were definitely more just, it was a summer job, and we were just pack mules, and it didn't really benefit us in very many ways.
I know, and I hate to say that, I hate to admit it, but it's like, it does. I mean, I didn't get any jobs out of that. No. Like,
if anything, I think the one thing that I did gain from this internship is I learned that, and like, this is no joke, I learned that I have way more in me than I ever thought I did. As far as physical capabilities go,
dude.
I mean, it taught me how to, like, when you think you can't go any further, you can.
When you think you can't go any further, somebody needs the beach wheelchair.
Literally, because you had other people relying on you for these services. So it wasn't like, if you're at the gym and you're like maxing out, or your PR or something like that. It's at the beach. It's like, I just have to make it over the hill. Okay, I just have to make it to the like you think you aren't going to make it, but you just have to do that.
Yeah,
and then it was like every walk was like that, and then you just have to do that walk over and over and over again for 10 hours a day. And so, I mean, I learned how to really push myself from that job. So
yeah, I thought, like, a cheer routine did that for me, but hell no, this job sealed the deal. But there was one time though. Do you want to go for mine's about the wheelchair? Because I am going to call someone out, fucking Ryan. So we were doing this internship, and it was me and him on it. And there was a lady who needed a wheelchair, which I loved that we had the wheelchairs because it was inclusive and it allowed a lot of people to get down to the beach that
normally
would never get over. Yeah, like there was like an older lady one time who was like, I haven't seen the ocean in years. So like that was great to help her out. But anyways,
that was rewarding to do. I mean, as much work as it was, sometimes that was really rewarding.
It was, it felt good. Like,
yeah. The people were always really appreciative. That was really what made the difference with pushing someone in the wheelchair down to the beach.
And so there was one woman who needed the wheelchair, and she was a bigger lady, and it was me and Ryan, and they also had like a cart to push. And I said something like about getting obviously somebody gets the wheelchair, somebody gets the cart. Me thinking Ryan will grab the wheelchair. And he grabs the cart, Ryan, if you ever listen to this, and he starts walking away with it. And I was like,
yeah.
I mean, and the thing is, too, was like,
kind of always taking the easy way out. When we were all struggling. Yeah. It's just like,
when you were pushing the wheelchair over, like, I don't know, it was like a triangle. So it would like, the top would tilt up sometimes. And I literally got stuck in the sand. Like, there was just like dads randomly who ran over and helped me, because also you're trying to get up and you're just like, digging the sand underneath
into the sand, and it's burning your feet, and you can't push over that big hill.
Yeah,
I mean, it was awful.
But so that was that. But
the wheelchair, the wheelchair was like at least a little bit better, because people always really appreciated it. But on the other hand, what I was thinking about is how, again, this was the summer after COVID, so you have all these people that are either own a house or they're renting one of these houses in this gated community. And it, it's a certain group of people that is attracted to this community, and it's somewhat more pretentious people. And and a lot of them had quite an attitude with us when we were there to help them and provide services for them. So no one is thinking about the actual logistics of what's going on here. Yeah. With this being the summer after COVID, no one wanted to work. There was so much unemployment. It was, I think, like at an all-time high.
Yeah, I mean, like, we were literally 50% understaffed. Like,
yeah. And so we were here working way more hours with way less people, without lunch breaks, it was just horrible conditions. And then when we were doing this service, like, I know most of us, we kind of just put our head down and shut our mouths, because, I mean, first of all, it's hard to talk to people as you're lugging all this heavy stuff on a hot day. But then there would be, the occasional person. Now, this isn't everybody, but the occasional person would come along and they would just absolutely tear you apart and just be so incredibly rude to us that it was like, I mean, I remember there was a couple times for me where I just like dropped their stuff, and I was like, I had to walk away, because I was like, I'm not going to go off on this person. I'm going to be bigger than that. But it took everything in me to not blow up on someone that was rude to us when we were doing all that for them. Yeah. And it was just, so it was also just the people that
you see privilege there
that were unappreciative of,
especially the door to shore, where there was so many issues with door to shore. So many issues. Like, we had a refund. I mean, the company had to refund a handful of families, but again, like, we tried our best as interns. We really did. Yeah. And at the end of the day, I didn't feel bad for the company having to refund these people, because we should have never been that booked anyways.
Yeah. Well, there was just a lot of holes in how everything was run. They did not have good systems in place. Just for reference,
it was like outdated.
There was nothing digital. Nothing whatsoever was digital. I think we had one computer, and we had one computer at the front desk and one iPad that we would take out to the tiki bar for sales of snacks and drinks and stuff. Other than that, absolutely everything was on paper. And I remember I really wanted to take initiative as my summer project to turn a lot of this paper into digital, technology, so it makes sense for everyone and everything is much smoother. Stay up to date with the times, basically. And I brought this up several times to our boss, and he flat out declined it. He was kind of stuck in his ways of doing things, and I understand that when you've done something for such a long time, you want to stick with it, but the kicker is that when it's not successful and it's not working well, that's when you especially need to make changes. Yeah. And he was not open to change. And I was like, you know what? When I can see that I'm not gaining any value from the person that is supposed to be above me and be my boss and I'm supposed to be learning things from, I feel like I'm in a way educating him here with my little bit of business background. And I was like, you know what? This just makes me feel completely useless because I really had something of value to add here.
Yeah.
And he didn't take me up
And
on
it wasn't,
And that spoke
kind of
volumes
happened a
about
lot.
how stuff worked there.
Yeah, and I hope it's gotten better. Like, again, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt because it was the year after COVID and things were like getting back and stuff, but
which is true. I mean, that definitely played a
we were
factor.
and like obviously again, like if we weren't understaffed, because there were previous NC State guys who went there, who do the internship there, and they talked about it like it was like the holy grail, like the best thing ever. But again, they were fully staffed, so they were able to do those recreation duties of planning events and like different things like that, and just
I think it would be a lot more fun if there were if we were fully staffed. We wouldn't have been overworked, and we would have enjoyed it a lot more. But
yeah. But that was basically the job, to sum it up, and just the chaos that kind of went on with the job. We were literally Pogues, though. Like, we were literally working for the rich and working our asses off for the rich.
Yep.
And something that was brought up when we were there was, like, we should get a raise because we're working for the amount of 12 people or whatever it was. Mm-hmm. And so, like, if 8 people are doing the work for 12 people, why aren't we getting paid? Like, obviously there's money in the budget for whatever.
But we were supposed to have 8-hour days, and they always ended up being 10.
Yeah, it's like if you were on beach valet, you were always there for 10 days.
I mean, that's
10 days. You were always there for, literally, you were there for 10 hours, because by the time you put everything back on and like take it back and stuff, like, but outside,
the fun part of it.
So outside of being Pogues, and I guess this is like still part of the Pogues too, like outside of the job and the internship itself, like I said, there was 8 interns, college interns in a house, and there were 2 bars near us, and
just 2.
Yeah,
only 2
that were near us.
Everybody would go. I mean, that was the only place to go.
Yeah, and so we like very quick made friends with the bartenders and the DJs, and the DJ we were like pretty good friends with at a point, like
the bouncer. I'm still friends with him on Facebook.
Keenan, right?
I'm talking about Q. There's a few.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, there were a few. But to be example, like me and one of the bouncers shared locations at one point. Like we would, and I don't even know how that ended up happening. But anyways, it was like a small town at that point, and we were the locals of the Outer Banks, which is really cool. Like we were there for 10 to 12, I think 10 weeks.
Yeah,
12 or something.
We were there for 3 months.
So we became locals at the Outer Banks, and that was really neat to experience. But it was literally like I said, those 2 bars which we always went to, and we just everyone knew us.
Y'all can probably imagine, you put a bunch of college kids in one house, there's going to be a little bit of drama, there's going to be a shit ton of drinking, and there's going to be a lot of throwing down. So that's basically exactly what happened.
Yeah.
We're all in confined spaces, so we're
the house was disgusting.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh.
Horrid. I mean, it was
the house, like. And it wasn't like, I don't know, I don't want to.
It was obviously it house level.
It kind of was, and I hate to admit that, but like
it
wasn't to the point of like unhealthy. You know what I mean? Like obviously it was fine to live there and get by, but I mean, again, 8 fucking college kids using that kitchen.
Yeah, no, it got bad quick.
The dishes were insane. There was constantly like mess just all over the couch. God knows when that thing was clean.
That's exactly what I was
couch
thinking about.
made me
the couch
sick.
Just made me kind of want to like.
And like some people like.
I mean, when you
some
come
of the
back
guys
from the
would
day,
sit there in the
when you
sand,
come back from your 10-hour day and you're like, you've been in the ocean a few times because it's so hot, and so like
you're covered in sand.
So sweaty, you're salty, you have sand on you, and then it's like, well, what am I going to do after a 10-hour shift? Yeah, go sit my ass on the couch. So I can only imagine how disgusting
dirty,
that couch
dude.
is.
I know.
It had to be so disgusting. And also, this couch has been in this house for
God knows how long,
for years and years. So, I mean, it's just a buildup, and it just, oh my God, it was so disgusting.
Yeah.
It was so gross.
And there was like, I can't, how messy it would get. But basically, like, when I was like in college and stuff, like, I was never that student to like go out and party and then go to my 8 a.m. the next day. But this internship, we were going out until like 2 a.m. Like we would shut the bars down.
Yeah. So basically, the first month,
and then do that physical hard labor at 8 a.m.
Yep.
That was crazy.
we were working 10-hour days and really difficult jobs, but we also did go drinking.
We did, and like definitely we did have a lot of fun.
Like I think the first month we did something every single night, and then after that, the last 2 months, everything kind of like settled down a little bit because
I was like,
obviously we went like way too hard, and we never really got to catch up on sleep and resting and stuff like that. So the first month was definitely the craziest.
I mean, nuts. Like I said, I was never built like that, and I know people who are built like that. But and then this internship, all of a sudden it happens. I was like, how was I this person? And like, so the Door to Shore trolley, actually, like I threw up in that one day because I was so hungover. But like, I would never expected myself to like.
I forgot about that.
Like just be that like the partier and then work the next morning. I was never built for that. Like, but we did it though. We sure did. And I mean, we had a lot of fun. And something that was funny too was like there were different like groups of people in the Outer Banks, like all the kids who basically became locals. So it was like us, which were the Curry Tuck Club people. There was the Umbrella people, the Kerala Club girls, ish, and then there was the lifeguards, high schoolers. Fucking high schoolers. They didn't party with us though and do all that. They were just obviously there, but in the Outer Banks. But
I think what we need to talk about for a minute though is what it was kind of like to be in small town life and the lifeguards. Because y'all, I feel like when I went to the Outer Banks, I've lived in Raleigh my whole life, and so I've never lived in a small town. And going to live in the Outer Banks, like obviously the people that are there for the summer, you start to get to know each other. And I just remember this one night we ended up going to a party with all the lifeguards because they have the same situation where they all stay in like a big house.
They have a house, I think it might be like a boy lifeguard house and a girl lifeguard house,
something like that. But
they got a house,
same
like
idea. And I remember we went to a few parties with them that summer actually, but when I tell y'all the exclusivity that they felt that they had was off the charts. I was like, this is literally like a TV show where you're like, oh, that's so dramatic. Like, that's not what high school is really like, or that's not what college is really like. Like, that's just blown up. Like, no, this was a TV show where
I wish
every one of them thought they were God himself, and they thought they were so much better. And I was like, whoa, what in the world is going on here?
Yeah, it was never welcoming. Like, the parties were never welcoming. Like, we would go, but we would just kind of, like, be there.
Exactly. And it was like, okay, wait, so I would have thought, like, you put a bunch of young people in a room together and they're here for the summer. Like, you're just going to party and have a good time. And, you know, like, my social butterfly self is going to go and try and talk to people.
Yeah, that was like the Umbrella crew. Like, that's how we came with them. We all became good friends and, like, you know, it was so natural, but not
it was just like they put themselves on a pedestal, and I was like, look, like, yeah, you're a lifeguard, that's cool, kudos, but we're all here working for the summer, like, let's just let loose at the end of the day and have a good time because we're all going to be here for the summer. But I guess everybody doesn't think like that.
I know. And you can say you had your select few that like came around and we hung out with and stuff.
Not everybody was like that for sure. Yeah, but it was overall a lot of them, and I was just kind of surprised.
Yeah, overall, like I said, you walk into the house and you're just there. Like, you're not really in it with everyone. Yeah. But it was just nuts. Like, that whole lifestyle was, I mean, it got to the point that by the end we were all literally like, we need to leave. Like, I don't know what's going on in this island, but you're so secluded too. Yeah, you know,
it really did start to feel weird after a while because there's only one road that you can take to get to and from the point of the Outer Banks that we were at. So if you even tried to take the road somewhere on a Saturday or Sunday, that's the day that everyone comes in and out of town to stay for the week. And there's miles and miles of traffic that lasts like for several hours on the weekend. So on the weekend, we weren't doing anything, and we always had random days off, so it's not like our weekends sucked because of that. But, I mean, it was just like there's the one highway that you have to drive all the way up to either Virginia or drive all the way down to Elizabeth City.
No, you couldn't get to Virginia. You had to go back up there. That's why because like if we had friends come into the airport, you had to drive all the way down the island and then all the way back up to the Virginia.
You're right. Yeah, I never went that way. So
but
so very secluded.
It was again, just a
Very
time.
interesting to experience small town life.
Yeah,
that's
and
probably
just
the
being in the
closest
Outer
I'll ever
Banks,
get to that feeling.
I do wish that. Oh, that's what I was gonna say. Is I really wish that I had vlogged, not even vlogged more, but also I wish I would have had a confessional because we joke because one of the other interns loved Jersey Shore like me, and we would talk about it all the time and different things. And we made a smush room. There was this room. Earlier we said interns had left, and so when they left and they parted, no bad blood, obviously, just they left and they parted.
It wasn't
for them. Yeah, it wasn't fit for them.
And I don't blame them. I probably should have left when they did. But,
but when they left, we didn't sage their room, but we took shots in there as
we're gonna christen it.
We're gonna
this is now the community room that everyone may use how they would like to
how they want to use it. Yeah.
You know?
And I should have put I'm not saying I should have put a camera in there. Not for that. For literally a confessional. I so badly wish, because there was also a love triangle. I'm not going to name drop. I'm not going to do anything. But there was a love triangle going on, and that tea was hot on the stove. Mm-hmm. And I wish I would have had that camera up and been ready to just have a confessional.
There was low-key a few love triangles, actually.
There was a few things happening. Of course, like you said. I do just wish, like I said, 4,000 times now, I wish I would have recorded it and literally made it into a reality TV, because it would have been so good. It would have been good.
That would have been some really good content.
I know.
I know it's hard to understand because we're just telling it through stories, but when I tell y'all, that would have been
been good.
Top of the chart show. It's no joke.
That would have got me my subscribers on YouTube. Honestly, because it would have been the Outer Banks meets Jersey Shore. Of course, I had it planned in my head, but I never just did it.
That's what it felt like.
Yeah. So now I hope that you get the gist of, I think we kind of covered, there's so many other little stories we could talk about for hours, but
honestly, I think what we'll end it on is the night that me and Kirsten almost died on her birthday.
Oh my God.
So basically,
no trauma.
Kirsten has her birthday on June 30th at the beach. So we're we're going to throw down. This is coming to the end of our first month there. So I feel like this was honestly one of the final raises that really did us in. So we ended up getting a keg, and we invited everybody that we could invite. We wanted to have
every crew that we talked about earlier, all of them.
We're gonna throw down. Everybody better come and let's have a good time. And so obviously we're not in our right minds, and so correct. We are it'd be really fun to do mattress surfing down the stairs. So because everybody in the house has a twin mattress, we're why don't y'all go get your beds?
You said, there was at least 4 beds not being used.
Yeah,
in that, a bunch of that one level. So easily grabbed one, and they start. So
we
what is it called?
Mattress surfing is what I was calling it. So we end up bringing the mattress up the stairs.
Sure did.
Everyone's having a good time. We're mattress surfing. People are sitting on it and going down, going on their stomachs down the stairs. Yeah. So then obviously, we're oh, this is fun. We need to take it to our feet and actually surf down the stairs, right? So we see Davis do it, and he executes it well. Looks like
he's
a great
7 foot. He can hold on to the ceiling. Doing it.
And so he goes down. We're oh, that looks so fun. So me and Kirsten, we're okay, it's our turn. So I
can't. I'm getting sweats because this traumatized me. Yes.
So clearly, I guess it didn't end well. Right. So we'll get to that. But we had just done a couple keg stands, and we're feeling ourselves.
We played City Girls already. It was past that time of the night.
Just absolutely thriving. So we're standing on the mattress, getting ready to go down. So and everybody in the house has we are holding each other.
This is how we're holding each other for
forearm to forearm.
Yeah,
standing on the mattress facing each other. Everybody in the house is coming over, watching people go down. So they're all recording. There's people at the bottom of the stairs, top of the stairs,
every angle,
flash on. So then we start to go down. I think we go down 5 steps, and then boom, both of our feet hit a step. And we go flying down the rest of the staircase, probably 15 stairs,
neck
head first.
Yeah.
So we both end up on the ground, flat.
Yeah.
And I remember
your knee, her knee, is your knee still?
No, my knee is still messed up from that. There's fluid in the top of my knee.
I just remember landing on my wrist, and my whole hand was not that it was swollen, but I mean I was numb. I was
Yeah, and
in
I got
all
the
by what
wind knocked
happened.
out of
Yeah.
me. So
Yeah, Ellie literally, she laid there.
I
And
couldn't
Steve,
breathe.
one of the other interns, so sweet. He goes running down like.
I think he like put his hands on the railing and skipped the stairs. Like he went down the stairs in like 2 glides.
Yes.
And then because I remember I'm seeing everything with my eyes, but I could not breathe like for a good minute or so. I was like,
yeah. I mean, in your eyes, you were. I just remember Ellie literally being like.
About to be lifeless.
I was like, oh my god, what just happened? What just happened? Because my first thought was like, I was about to go my senior year of cheer. I'm like, oh my god, I just messed everything up, blah blah. Meanwhile, this all happens. Whatever. The next day, it's on JMU Barstool. The video is fucking on Instagram. JMU Barstool. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Because one of the other interns ran it. Fucking Ryan.
So. Anyways, it was kind of funny, like, because we were okay, but
we were, yes, but it was
we sustained some injuries.
We did, yeah.
It was fun, until that.
Yeah. So with that, the ending of that story. Now, I do want to reflect and talk about how we are, like, who we were at those days, and now who we are. You know what I mean? Like, Ellie is a real estate queen, and she's working for her parents' company. And she's doing the damn thing. She shows listings and she like a whole professional. And I think it's so funny because at our internship, like I said, like we said, hand holding in the bunk beds, her alarm would go off for 30 minutes. I'm like, Ellie, are you going to get your ass up? And we also used to bike to the internship. And I'm like, Ellie, listen, like, yes, it takes 10 minutes to bike to the property to like our place. But you have to account for locking the bike up and stuff. So I'm like, girl, I'm leaving at 7:45. Yeah, it's 7:45 and Ellie is making her breakfast. I'm like, oh my god. I'm like sweating because I hate being late. I'm like, oh my gosh.
She always ended up leaving without me.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm sorry, girl. I gotta go. I want to
blame her. Like, that's always how I rolled in high school and college. Like, what's wrong with being 5 minutes late? I'm not passionate about this.
True.
So, I mean,
I was just like, obviously cared too much.
But Pogue to professional, back to the actual topic. I wake up at 6 a.m. every day now, and I always show up to my appointments on time because now I have a purpose and a real passion.
Yeah, that'll do it. That'll do it.
And, real life just kind of slapped me in the face and said, get it together. And I learned a lot from that internship. I feel like I learned how to persevere and push myself. And now I really do apply that to my business and to what I do now.
Hell yeah. And also something that I kind of like, I'm trying to reflect on myself as like from that internship. I don't really know. I'm still obviously like, I say Pogues a professional. Ellie's the real professional here. I'm like finally getting into that professional industry of travel and outdoor adventure.
You're transitioning.
I'm
so much in Chicago in 2 days.
So,
you have bigger and better things coming up.
Yeah,
after your move.
So. But something I did learn though was Ellie, like she said, she's a social butterfly. And so like obviously when you go into like anything with adults and professionals, it's all about networking and connecting. And one thing Ellie did that summer was networked and connected like with so many people. And I never did. Like I did my job and called it a day. But then I would see like all these connections and just conversations and like little relationships Ellie was making. And I was like, okay, that's very important. Like I probably should start doing that. So I brought that into my real life outside of the internship. So shout out to you. Shout out to Ellie.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, but because I would just watch it and I'm like, that is a really good thing to have because, I mean, that's like connections are what, like these jobs, not the one job, but the other job that I have in Chicago with like the substitute teaching, that's by a connection, so it's just like, it's who you know.
Honestly, nothing really matters more in life. Like having connections with people can make the biggest difference in how everything in your life goes. So, I mean, sometimes it's hard. I mean, you got to like really be more active about it than passive. Like things aren't just going to happen to you. But when you're like a little bit more intentional about speaking to people, finding something to connect over and making relationships with them, it's like find something to engage with them on and then,
that mutual interest.
It's like that's how you form a relationship. And I feel like that has served me a lot in
especially with your profession. Ways. I mean, that's a great, characteristic to have, especially as like a realtor. Like,
as a real estate agent, I mean, that's what it's
engaged
built off of.
Yeah,
so you kind of have to be good at that if you're going to be in the business for a long time. So.
Yeah. But yeah, so now we are not Pogues anymore, and we are
Thank God.
professional people. But I think it's just like it is just, like we were 21, 22 years old at our little internship, not even like making it on time for the days. And now I guess because again, I don't have that like professional stance yet, but I'm like, packing my resumes and like doing different things like that. So it's just like, I mean, actually this past year I ran my own 2 programs. I literally started 2 cheer programs. So like we went from being Pogues and Outer Banks to doing like these big, huge things. So it's just funny, and it's just how life works out. It's natural. You know what I mean? Like when you're in college and you're doing all those things, just be a college kid. Like,
honestly,
like I remember one of the interns, Davis, literally said, he was like, "Listen, we got paid $12 an hour." He was like, work as if it's a $12 hour, because I did way too much. Like I definitely overdid my job, and
I mean, you get what you pay for. That rings true in any situation.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want better quality service, then you're offering $40 an hour, because then you're, it's just, you get what you pay for.
Yeah, and he said,
you're investing in these interns or not.
Exactly, and Davis made that point of like work your $12 an hour worth, and that's when I was kind of like, you know what, you're right, but we came a long way, and a little us.
That's the truth.
In the Outer Banks, I think would be proud.
Honestly, I mean, we graduated college, and now we're in the real world. And you keep saying like you're not a professional yet, but honestly, maybe not like the standard professional of having like a 9-to-5 job or something like that. But you definitely are in a lot of different ways, in all of the different avenues that you've taken since graduating. So,
hosting a podcast, like, come on.
I mean, that's like
true. So that is basically a wrap. I guess one last question, not even that I asked any, this really whole thing. This is more of like storytelling than interview. But anyways, if there was anything you could go back to in that summer or that internship and change, what do you think you would like change or do differently?
What could I change, man? Not falling down the stairs.
That trauma lives with me forever. I would absolutely take that.
I don't know. If I could change it, I mean, I know what position I was in for the summer. I mean, I feel like, I don't know, looking back, I really did just have an attitude of like, I'm going to work as hard as I can, but I'm not going to work myself to death. Like, I believe in being a good hard worker.
Right.
And absolutely. I think I did. But I feel like I definitely had a lot of attitude that summer, and that stemmed from
it was easy to have attitude.
Yeah, it was. But it was. So I'm thinking back to my summer of like 21 self, and I mean, the attitude definitely had a time and a place, but I don't know, because I really did. I mean, I don't know if I would change that though, because when you're working that many hours a day and working yourself to death, I mean, that's just what's gonna happen. I mean, I'm not my best self when I'm at that point.
Yeah, that was. But again, we had fun. Like,
maybe some of the drama. I'm not gonna go into it, but I think maybe some of the drama that was involved over that summer, like, it's hard to avoid. Like, I usually steer clear of drama as best I can. Like, I'm just gonna avoid it at all costs. I just don't. I don't have the energy for that. I really don't.
Yeah.
And so I feel like maybe I would change being involved in some of the drama, but it's hard when you're all put in a house together.
Yeah.
And there's just always stuff going on.
I mean, yeah, like you can try and, steer clear, but there's always going to be like something.
There's always going to be something.
I know. I'm trying to think of what I would change. I feel like I said, like I didn't realize until the very end, until Davis made that statement, but I wish I kind of would have not taken it as seriously. Yeah. And I wish I would have really took the time to think like, okay, these are my goals that I want. How can I get to this from this internship?
Right.
Because I just did the internship for what it was, and it kind of bit me in the ass because it didn't give me much for my travel side of, the profession I want to enter and want to be in. So that's what I would definitely change and go back and do, is just really pick out like have my goals, have my focus, and then
kind of like
emphasize,
backtrack them to figure out how to make them happen.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think that kind of sums it all up.
I don't know.
And brings us to today.
Honestly, I mean, as tough as that summer was, I wouldn't trade it for the world.
I wouldn't
it was
either,
one of the
honestly.
most eventful summers I've ever had.
Yeah. And look at a story to tell. We have so many stories to tell from that summer.
I did learn a lot. Not from being an intern, but from just being in the environment.
Yeah, that's for sure. Thank you, Ellie, again for coming on
Thanks
my
for having
podcast
me.
and being my very first guest and sharing our Pogue life for the people to let them know and let them hear about it.
For hours.
I know we literally could sit here for hours. Like if we went into every detail, I think you guys would love it, but it's just a lot of time, and I got a whole house to pack up. So
you are going to Chicago in 2
yeah.
days.
But again, I really appreciate you being on this episode.
I feel
think-
honored to be the first guest. I mean,
yeah, I think we did pretty good
shit.
too for first guest.
podcast
Listeners, I know, listeners, if you liked it, let us know. Let me know.
Comment, subscribe.
Like, comment,
Is that
subscribe.
what you
Yes.
do for a podcast?
Yeah, on the YouTube, because it'll be posted on YouTube. But if you are listening, you can still comment on like Apple Podcasts. I think Spotify too.
Yeah.
Any stream that you're listening to this from. Thank you for listening and thank you for being here. If you got through this whole thing, I hope you enjoyed our time in the Outer Banks. We'll just call it that. Good time in the Outer Banks. Don't forget to follow Don't Wait Till Monday podcast on Instagram. And if you're not, follow on YouTube at Life with Kirsten. And then there's a playlist or like a podcast playlist where you can watch the videos if you have any interest in doing that. Ellie, I think your Instagram is Ellie Spencer, right? Like at Ellie Spencer.
It's my name, Ellie. I think 2 E's at the end, and then Spencer with 2 R's at the end.
So
I don't know. I never got my
Ellie
handle.
Spencer. Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. Thank you for
Pogues to
listening.
professionals.
Literally, Pogues professional. That's how it's done. All right, well, I will catch you in the next episode. Until then, from Pogues to professionals to another possible Pogue to professional college student out there, just keep working your
Don't
ass
take
off.
it too seriously.
Yeah, don't take it too seriously. Both. Wait, no, they contradict each other. All right, it's time to end the podcast. Hope you liked it. See you next time. Bye.